Points, line segments, lines, and rays. Oh my! All the things we're going to talk about today for math. All of these words are geometry words, and we're going to talk about each one of them in more detail. But this is the anchor chart that I'm going to have you refer to when you do your practice today. And so I just wanted to go over it very briefly, and then we'll go into more detail. We're going to be talking about points. We're going to be talking about line segments, which you see here. We're going to talk about lines. And if you notice, lines have arrows on the end because a line goes on forever and ever. And we're going to talk about rays. And if you notice, a ray has an end point on one end and an arrow on the other end. That's going to be important. So let's dig right in and let's go to the first slide, which talks about a point. A point is an exact location in space. So all of these are points, A, B, C, and D. When we're talking about points in geometry, points on a line are given a letter name. So if I had you look at this line, which points would you say are on the line? They're right on the line. I'm going to give you about 5 seconds to figure that out. And then we're going to drag this up and reveal the answer. Hopefully you said B is on the line and D is on the line. Which means which points are not on this line? Hopefully you chose A and C, right? A is below the line, C is above the line. All right. The next thing they want us to do is drag each point to a certain place. Drag point E onto the line. So here's the point, and I'm going to put it right on the line. So that is point E. We're going to take point F, and it says put it below the line. So I'm going to put it down here. And then drag point G above the line. So point G, we're going to put above the line. So if it's a point, it's going to have a dot, and it's going to have a capital letter that names it. Those are points. Now let's talk about a line. A line is a long, thin mark that continues forever in both directions. So if we look down here at the bottom, we notice it's a straight line, and you notice that it has the arrows on both ends. That's to remind us that lines go on forever. They do not stop. Lines have arrows on both ends. Lines are named by using 2 points on the line, usually the outermost ones. So the outermost would be the ones closest to the end on each side. We write the letter name with a line drawn over it with arrows, just like this little red one. So it says write the name of this line in the green box. So we're going to name this line right here. And remember, we're going to name it by using the outermost letters, which would be, this is on the outside. That means outermost, S and U. So we're going to name this line SU. We could also name this line US because it goes in both directions. So you could name it US or you could name it SU. Okay, let's go to the next one. Now we're going to talk about a line segment. A line segment is just a section of a line between 2 endpoints. It is named by its endpoints with a line over it. So even though this is on a line, we're just talking about a little section. So we're not naming the whole line this time. We're just talking about a section of that line. So one section of this line might be T from the middle to TU. So that would be one way we could name it, TU. We could also name it UT, right? And we could also name it ST. S and T. That's just a little section or segment of a whole line. So it's called a line segment. And it has a line over it. Notice it doesn't have arrows because this line segment doesn't go on forever. It's just that little tiny section. Okay. Next, we're going to talk about a ray. A ray is a section of a line with a point on one end and which goes on forever in the other direction. So we name the end point first with a point and a letter. And then the other point, we write an arrow over them. So which of the following is a ray? So it has a point on one end, and then it has a line that goes on forever on the other side. So we know that this first one has 2 points on it, and it has arrows on both ends. So that would be a line that goes on forever in both directions. So we know that that's a line. We also know that this next one would also be a line, but it only has 1 point on it. If you look at this last picture we have down here, we have J is the end point. It cannot go on any farther to the left. That's the stopping point. But it goes out from that. And so this is the end point, and then this is the other point that names the ray, and the ray goes on and on in that direction to the right. So we would drag this to the box. This is our ray, and we would name that ray JK. You always start with the point, the end point, and then go out from there. And I always tell my class to think about a sun ray. It starts in the middle of the sun and it goes out. So a ray only goes in one direction. It starts at an end point and goes out. So let's look at the next box and see if we can figure out a few things. So the first question says, how many points are visible on these lines? And visible means that we can see. So I always start on one line and try to count the ones I see. So I see 1, 2, 3, 4. All of those are points. 5, 6, 7. So there are 7 points on both of these lines, right? Which point is on more than one line? So V is only on this line. U is only on this line. S is just on this line. J is just on this line. K is only on this line. L is only on this line. Do you notice that T is right here in the middle where these two intersect or cross over each other? So T would be on both lines. So that's our answer, point T. How many lines are there in all? Now remember, lines go on forever and ever, both directions. So let's look. We have a line that goes here, and if we named this line, we would say JL. Remember, because we do the outermost letters, JL. And then the other line would be SV. So there are 2 lines in this picture. Oh, and we just kind of answered this one. What are the names of these lines? The names are SV and where we start here, JL. And if I had a way to do it, I would put a line over top of it just like this, right? That had arrows moving in both directions. Let's see if we can move those down there. We sure can. So there we go. Now we've just named those lines and we put the picture above it to show that it's a line. Okay. Name 2 line segments on these lines. Now remember, a line segment is just going to be a little section of the line. So I could name KT, and I would take my little line segment picture and put it above there to show that it's just a segment. And then another line segment I could list is LT. And then I again would move my line segment over it. The last one, name 2 rays on this line. So a ray would start at U and go on to V. So UV would be one ray. Remember, it can only go on in one direction. And how about KJ? KJ. Those are our rays. So you are going to refer to this anchor chart at the beginning, and you're going to do this slide for me, along with a few other things to answer to see if you can identify a point, a line segment, and a